All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving deep into a question that's been around, well, forever, basically.
Oh, this is a big one, all right.
Yeah, it is. Are we really from Mars? You know, all those ancient alien enthusiasts out there, could they actually be onto something? I mean, come on, we've got these wild theories about Martian rivers and
And then mountains that just put Everest to shame.
exactly. And maybe even hints of fossilized life. Like what?
There's a lot to unpack here, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. So let's see if we can wade through it all. Can we separate the science from the science fiction?
I think we can, but we got to start with, the basics.
Okay, so Mars 101. Hit me with it.
All right, well, first off, Mars, it's about half the size of Earth, roughly. And get this, a Martian year, twice as long as ours.
So birthdays on Mars, they must be epic, right? I
Well,
mean, double the cake, double the presents.
you'd think so, but there's a bit of a catch.
Well, there's always a catch, isn't there?
Yeah, kind of. You see, the average temperature there, it's a cool minus 62 degrees Celsius.
Brr, that's not exactly what I'd call beach weather.
No, definitely not. And in winter, it plunges even further down to minus 130 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so pack your parka and maybe a heated blanket or two or 10 if you're planning a trip to Mars anytime soon.
Yeah, good advice.
But speaking of the Martian surface, there's this one thing that I find so bizarre. I mean, it's almost like the solar system played a prank on Mars, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, our sources say the northern hemisphere, it's smooth, like strangely smooth. But the southern hemisphere,
Oh, yeah, completely riddled with craters.
it's like all the asteroids in the solar system decided, hey, let's play darts, and Mars is the dartboard.
It is pretty wild, isn't it?
But why? Why the south? Why not, like, spread the love a little, you know? Asteroid-wise, I mean.
It's one of those Martian mysteries. Scientists, they're still scratching their heads over this one.
So no real answers then.
Well, the most likely theory is that way back when there was this huge impact, an asteroid, but like massive, and it reshaped the whole southern hemisphere.
Ouch. Talk about a bad day on Mars.
Yeah, no kidding.
But hey, at least Mars has those incredible mountains, right? They more than make up for it, I think.
Oh, those mountains are something else. We're talking like 27,000 meters high.
That's more than 3 times taller than Everest. I mean, how do mountains even get that big?
Well, Mars, it has a weaker gravitational pull than Earth that allows for, bigger formations, more dramatic stuff. And then there's volcanic activity. It's been going on for billions of years. Massive magma buildups slowly pushing upwards, and boom, colossal peaks.
So it's like slow motion fireworks, but with mountains instead of, sparks.
In a way, yeah.
But we can't forget about that Martian atmosphere. It's super thin, right?
Yeah, about 1% as dense as Earth's.
Our sources paint this hilarious picture. Imagine having, like, scorching hot feet, but your head's getting snowed on.
Huh? All thanks to that thin air.
Yeah, it would make for an interesting day out for sure. But that thin atmosphere, it also plays into this whole question about, well, life on Mars, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a key factor.
Okay, so the big question, was there ever life on Mars? And to get some answers, let's go back in time a bit.
Back to the 70s with the Mariner 9 mission.
1971, to be exact.
Yeah.
That mission, it sent back the very first, like, detailed images of Mars, didn't it?
It did. And those images, well, they showed something pretty amazing.
Like what? Tell me.
Traces of what looked a lot like, ancient riverbeds.
Hold on. Are you saying Mars wasn't always the dry, dusty planet we see today?
It seems that way. Mariner 9's images, they kind of blew everyone's minds.
I bet.
The idea of Mars maybe being wet, even life-supporting once, it suddenly wasn't so crazy anymore.
Wow. So we have ancient riverbeds hinting at a wetter past. But did any missions actually find water, like real H2O?
That's where things get even more interesting. We have the Viking mission.
Ah, yes, Viking. That was 1976, right?
That's the one. They took a bolder approach, landed 2 spacecraft right on Mars with all these fancy instruments.
To find signs of life, right, in the soil.
Exactly. They even had a little robotic arm to scoop up samples.
Like a Martian claw machine.
You could say that, but, well, the Viking experiments, they don't find, conclusive evidence of life.
Oh, no Martian welcoming committee then.
Oh, they didn't even find organic molecules, which are like the building blocks of life as we know it.
So a little bit of a letdown for those hoping to find, like, bustling Martian cities.
You could say that, but then there's this other thing. We have these fossilized microbes found in Martian meteorites.
Wait, hold on. Those weren't from the Viking mission, were they?
No, no, the Viking mission, it just focused on those specific landing sites, but these meteorites, they actually fell to Earth.
Whoa, like Martian rocks just landing in our backyard.
It's pretty wild. And scientists, they've been studying these meteorites, comparing them to the data we have about Mars. And in some cases, it's a clear match.
So it's like pieces of a Martian puzzle just scattered all over Earth.
Yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. But what about those fossilized microbes? Are those proof that Mars was once teeming with life?
Well, that's where things get a little heated, even among scientists. Some believe these tiny structures, they are fossilized bacteria, meaning maybe life did exist on Mars billions of years ago, but others, they argue that those structures, they could have formed naturally without any life involved.
Hmm. So it's not a clear-cut case then.
Not quite. We have the Viking mission coming up empty in its search for life, and then these intriguing hints from Martian meteorites. It's a puzzle, that's for sure.
And each answer just seems to lead to more questions. But hey, that's what makes it so fascinating, right? So what happened after Viking? I mean, we didn't just stop exploring Mars, did we?
Oh, not at all. There's so much more to talk about. No, not at all. There was a bit of a pause after Viking, but then things really picked up again in the late 90s, early 2000s. We had missions like Pathfinder and, of course, Sojourner.
Oh, Sojourner, that little rover just trundling along on Mars. It was like, I don't know, a Roomba, but with a science degree.
That's a pretty good analogy. And you remember the Pathfinder landing site. They named it after Carl Sagan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What a tribute, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Carl Sagan, one of the greatest minds to ever, well, to ever think about space, the universe, you know.
It really shows you how much Mars captures our imagination. It's not just about the data. It's about us wanting to understand where we fit in all of this.
Our place in the cosmos. It's a big question.
It is.
But speaking of exploring, let's go back to those ancient rivers for a minute. The ones that Mariner 9 hinted at. Did later missions find more evidence to support, the whole watery past of Mars?
They did, actually. We have even more reason now to believe that Mars was once, well, much wetter than we thought. Later missions, they found huge polar ice caps, mostly water ice.
Wow. So there's actual ice on Mars.
Yeah, tons of it. And there's more. The rocks on Mars, they tell a story, too.
Oh, what kind of story?
Well, some of them, they're made of things like andesite and sedimentary rocks.
And that means,
Those types of rocks, they form in the presence of water and volcanic activity. So it all points to a past where water was, well, pretty abundant on Mars.
okay, so we've got hints of ancient rivers, we've got polar ice caps, we've got rocks that scream water was here. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to deny that Mars was once a very different place.
You're not wrong.
But here's the big question.
Yeah.
If Mars was so wet, maybe even habitable at some point, what happened? Where did all the water go?
The million-dollar question. Well, the leading theory is that over time, Mars lost its atmosphere.
It just vanished.
Not exactly vanished, but it got stripped away by solar winds.
Cold winds.
Yeah, basically a constant stream of charged particles from the sun. Think of it like like a cosmic sandblaster slowly wearing away at Mars' protection.
So like a really, really bad sunburn, but for a whole planet.
Yeah, something like that. Now, Earth, we have a strong magnetic field. It acts like a shield, deflecting most of those solar winds. But Mars, well, Mars doesn't have that same level of protection.
So it's like Mars forgot to put on sunscreen.
In a way, yeah. And that's why its atmosphere, well, it's so thin today.
Makes sense. But our sources also mention something called magnetic pole shifts. What are those exactly? And could they have, messed with Mars's atmosphere too?
So imagine if Earth's magnetic north and south poles, they just decided to switch places. That's essentially what a magnetic pole shift is.
Well, that sounds dramatic.
It is. And yeah, these shifts, they could have weakened Mars's magnetic field even more, which would have made it easier for solar winds to strip away its atmosphere.
So it's like musical chairs, but with planetary poles. And the consequence is, well, a planet losing its atmosphere.
It's a simplification, but yeah, kinda.
And just to be clear, Earth's magnetic poles, they shift too, right? Should we
Yeah.
be worried?
They do shift, but very, very slowly, over thousands of years. And Earth's magnetic field, it's much stronger than Mars's ever was. We're not going to turn into a dry, dusty desert anytime soon.
Okay, good. I was about to start stockpiling bottled water. But it does make you wonder, about planets, their lifespans, what they go through. It's a lot.
It is a lot to think about.
But before we get too existential here, there's this one point in our sources that I want to bring up. It connects our exploration of Mars to, well, how aliens might be exploring us.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, they're suggesting that maybe, just maybe, those UFO sightings, they're not aliens and flying saucers, but alien probes.
It's a thought experiment, really, to flip the perspective. What if out there's someone looking at Earth the way we look at Mars?
You're saying those blurry photos of UFOs, they could be alien rovers.
It's a possibility. Maybe they're just trying to find a good parking spot for their spaceship.
And what about those classic alien descriptions?
Mm.
You know, gray skin, big eyes, small bodies. Are you saying those are based on our rovers?
It's a fun thought, right? Our sources suggest that maybe our own robots, they're shaping how we imagine aliens.
So we're projecting our own creations onto the unknown. It's like we're looking in a mirror, but it's a space mirror, and the reflection is, well, an alien rover.
It's an interesting way to think about it.
It is. But let's get back to Mars for a minute. Sources mentioned the InSight mission. It landed on Mars in 2018. What was so special about that one?
InSight was all about looking deep into Mars's interior. It had this instrument, a heat probe. They nicknamed it the Mole. It was supposed to burrow down several meters into the Martian soil.
To measure the planet's temperature, basically. Did it work?
Well, that's where things got a little tricky. The Mole, it ran into some unexpected resistance. The Martian soil, it wasn't as cooperative as they hoped.
So even on Mars, home improvement projects don't always go as planned.
Apparently not. But InSight, it still managed to gather some incredible data. It detected hundreds of Marsquakes.
Marsquakes, like earthquakes, but on Mars.
Exactly. And that information, it gave us a glimpse into the planet's structure, its seismic activity. It's like we could feel the pulse of another planet.
That's mind-blowing. But let's address the big question here. Do our sources give us any proof that humans, that we actually originated on Mars?
They don't exactly hand us some Martian birth certificate, no. There's no, definitive smoking gun.
So Mars, as our ancestral home, it's still just a theory then?
For now, yes, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. We have all this evidence pointing to a wetter, warmer Mars in the past. And those fossilized microbes, even though they're debated, they do raise some interesting questions about the potential for life on Mars, maybe even complex life, way back when.
So it's not totally crazy to think that maybe, just maybe, our ancient ancestors, they were hanging out on Mars.
Maybe they were, but there's a bigger point here, I think. Mars, it's not just some cold, dead rock floating out there. It's a dynamic world with a past, a history. And that history, well, it might hold the key to understanding our own origins and the possibility of life beyond Earth.
It's a cosmic time capsule, just waiting for us to unlock its secrets. And who knows what else we'll find as we keep exploring. I mean, that's what makes space exploration so exciting, right? It's all about pushing the boundaries, venturing into the unknown.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Mars, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. What if, one day, we find definitive proof of past life on Mars? How would that change our view of life itself? Would we feel less alone, knowing that life might have started somewhere else? Or would it make us realize just how vast, how complex the universe really is, and how much we still don't know?
Those are some big questions. And on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye to Mars, at least for now. But as always, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring. That's what the deep dive is all about. Until next time. It's a good question, though, right? Why should we even care about Mars? I mean, it's millions of miles away. It's not like we can just hop on a rocket and, visit for the weekend. So why does any of this Mars stuff even matter to us here on Earth?
Well, I think studying Mars, it's kind of like looking in a mirror, a planetary mirror, I guess. By understanding how Mars lost its atmosphere, its water, we get a better sense of what keeps Earth, well, alive. The delicate balance that makes life possible here.
So Mars is like a cautionary tale, a what not to do guide to taking care of a planet.
Yeah, exactly. It shows us that even planets that seem stable, they can change drastically over time. It makes you realize, how important it is to protect our own planet, make sure it stays livable for us, for future generations.
It's like a reminder from space to, I don't know, reduce, reuse, recycle, and maybe invest in some planet-sized sunscreen.
Yeah, something like that. But there's more to it than just the environmental lessons.
Like what?
Exploring Mars, it sparks our imagination. It pushes us to think beyond our own little world, our own little bubble.
Yeah.
There's so much out there to discover in our solar system and beyond.
It's like every new discovery unlocks another level in the cosmic video.
Nice.
Speaking of unlocking levels, our sources mention a couple of upcoming Mars missions that sound pretty exciting, like real game changers. What can you tell us about them?
Oh, yeah, there are some big things on the horizon. The European Space Agency, they're getting ready to launch their ExoMars Rosalind Franklin rover.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but it's gonna be amazing. This rover, it'll have a drill that can go 2 meters below the Martian surface. That's deeper than any rover has gone before.
2 meters deep. Maybe it'll find, I don't know, a Martian subway system? Or even better, a stash of Martian cookies.
Now, who's letting their imagination run wild?
Hey, a space enthusiast can dream, can't they?
Yeah.
But seriously, that rover could make some incredible discoveries. What about NASA? Anything new coming up from them?
NASA's working on a sample return mission. They want to bring back rocks and soil collected by the Perseverance rover.
Hold on, we're going to have actual pieces of Mars here on Earth.
That's the plan. Imagine what scientists could learn by studying those samples up close, in labs. It could revolutionize our understanding of Mars.
It's like ordering Martian takeout. I can't wait.
But before we get too lost in the future, let's come back to the big question for this deep dive. Based on everything we've talked about, is there a real case to be made for Mars as, the cradle of humanity?
Well, there's no, definitive proof. No Martian birth certificate or anything like that.
Right.
But it's a possibility we can't rule out completely. We have evidence of, wetter, warmer Mars in the past. And those fossilized microbes, even though they're controversial, they do make you wonder, was there life on Mars, maybe even complex life, a long, long time ago?
So the idea that our ancient ancestors were Martian, it's not totally off the table.
Not entirely, but I think the most important takeaway here is that Mars isn't just a dead planet. It's a dynamic world with a past, a story to tell. And that story, it might hold the key to understanding our own origins and the potential for life beyond Earth. It's a cosmic time capsule just waiting to be opened. And who knows what other mysteries we'll uncover as we explore our celestial neighborhood. I mean, that's the beauty of space exploration, right? The constant quest for knowledge, the journey into the unknown. It's thrilling.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. What if, one day, we find undeniable proof that life existed on Mars? How would that change our understanding of life, of the universe, of ourselves? Would we feel less alone? Or would it just make us realize how much we still have to learn? It's a question worth pondering.
It definitely is. And on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye to the red planet, for now at least. But as always, keep looking up, keep those questions coming, and never stop exploring. That's what the deep dive is all about. Until next time.